Welcome into the Stampede. My name is Ryan Jones, along with my good friends Nick Romero and Ashton Yanez. Thank you for spending your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day here. We are the Stampede. Nick, Ashton, my colleagues, my friends, my co-hosts, my football fanatics. How are you guys doing today?
Feeling
Good, good,
great.
good.
Excellent. Now, if you have not been following the series, we are currently the journey, if you will, that we are embarking on. We are going to be fixing every single team in the NFL in just one off season. The Stampede fixes the AFC North is up next, and of course, as we did in the last two, we will go worst to first by record. First up, a team that I think actually has a good chance to go from worst to first in their division because of who their quarterback is, the Bengals.
Okay, so I have the Cincinnati Bengals. They went 5-11, missed the playoffs. Joe Burrow got hurt, and about in the middle of the year. So the priority number one O line. They have $41 million in cap. They have. I think that they should cut their right tackle. It saves 5.8 million. Cut Geno Atkins, their defensive tackle, saves 9.5 million. So that just gives more cap. And I think they should go offensive tackle in the draft. They are pick number 5. They go Panay Sewell, Rashawn Slater, whoever their number one tackle is. They can either put them at left side and move Jonah Williams to right side, or vice versa. And I believe that they should go interior offensive line in free agency with Joe Thuney, Corey Lindsley, Gabe Jackson. Number 2 is Joe Burrow needs weapons. You can never have too many weapons. At number 5, they could draft a receiver also, but I think they should do this in free agency. Hunter Henry's there. Jonnu Smith is there. I like Will Fuller for this team. I think he could be that deep threat that they don't really have, because Tyler Boyd is more of a slot, sneaky guy, and Higgins is more of like a jump ball tall guy. So I think Will Fuller can do good things for them. And defense is big. They really need it. They have a lot of money, so they need everywhere. Pat P, Sherman, Bud Dupree, Ngakwe, Olivia Vernon, Matt Judon. So yeah.
Well, I mean, that all sounds good on paper, Nick, but the thing is, this ownership group is extremely stingy with their money and they are known to not spend money. So I agree with you. If you can sign a Joe Thuney, if you can go out and help your defense out, do it. If you can get him a weapon, do it. I actually really do like the idea of Will Fuller coming here to the Bengals. He basically be what they were wanting John Ross to do. John Ross is a free agent as well. More of a gadget guy, and Will Fuller is more of a all-around deep threat. He would basically be filling the role that John Ross was supposed to have. So I really like the idea of Will Fuller going to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, and I like how you prioritize protecting Joe Burrow. I think Cincinnati learned the hard way last year that they need to have a good offensive line if they plan on having a number one overall quarterback be their long-term answer in the QB room. Rather they do that in the draft or in free agency. Ideally, I think they would get Panay Sewell out of Oregon. I think that guy was a stud and a big reason why Justin Herbert had a lot of success when he was playing there in Oregon. But yeah, Joe Burrow just needs to be protected. He's such a good player, and the fact that he played so well with what Cincinnati had last year just shows that if Cincinnati just makes the right moves this offseason, this is a team that can do so much more in their division.
All right, let's move on a few miles down the road. The Cleveland Browns, staying in the state of Ohio, who went 11-5 and lost in the divisional round to a Kansas City Chiefs. No surprise really there. But look, people are going to hate this. But number one, get Baker Mayfield, a deep threat that isn't Odell Beckham Jr. I abbreviated OBJ because there's only so much words you could fit in a little space, So, look, it should be obvious that the Browns and Baker Mayfield are better off without Odell Beckham Jr. on the field. This isn't a slight on Odell Beckham. This isn't a slight on Baker Mayfield. This isn't a slight on the city of Cleveland or the team that represents them, the Browns. Look, sometimes it just doesn't work out. The Browns are picking 26th in the upcoming draft. So you could go out and get Rashawn Bateman, and Elijah Moore, a Rondale Moore, a Kadarius Toney, or you can go out and sign a Will Fuller or a Deshaun Jackson. There's lots of options here for them to fill this void. Baker Mayfield's one of the best deep thrower in the NFL. He has a strong arm. He's accurate down the field. According to PFF, he was in the top 5 deep ball accuracy percentages. You just have to get him a deep threat that is going to get open consistently down the field. That is not named Odell Beckham Jr. Number 2, sign one of the top safeties in free agency was what I originally put down in my notes, but Anthony Harris is the only safety available now. Marcus May got tagged. Marcus Williams got tagged. Anthony Harris, safety from the Vikings, has not been tagged as of this recording, so I believe he will be a free agent. This is the biggest need for the Browns defensively. Some may argue cornerback is up there, but I'm not ready to give up on Greedy Williams or Denzel Ward, who were both highly thought of coming out of LSU and Ohio State, respectively. This free agency class was good, but now there's only one top-tier safety there. All of them, Anthony Harris would solidify the back end of this defense. You have Myles Garrett. You have decent linebackers. You have Greedy Williams, Denzel Ward. You sign Anthony Harris. The Browns, all of a sudden, year 2 of a new defensive system, they could be one of the best defenses in the NFL if they have a top-tier safety, top-tier corners, and the best edge rusher in the NFL, in my opinion, in Myles Garrett. Number 3, just hire a new medical staff. I don't want to call for anybody's job and think anybody should be fired, but if Cleveland goes into the postseason healthy with all of these corners, with all their secondary healthy, and their defensive line as well, look, there's a chance that they could have upset the Chiefs. We saw how bad it was, for Kansas City against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and that pass rush. If the Browns were at full strength defensively, I think there's a good chance that they could have upset them just like Tampa Bay did. The Chiefs are not some immortal god-tier team that can't be touched, as we saw in the Super Bowl, like everyone thought they were all year long. The Browns are a legit team, and if they did these 3 things, I think they could be in Super Bowl contention.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Ryan. This is a team that's really made a lot of improvements ever since they got a new head coach, ever since they got a new GM. Ever since they had basically an NFL coach operating that offense, they've been producing a lot of yards and touchdowns at a consistent week-by-week basis. I definitely agree that they need a jump ball guy, but the one thing I do like is how getting a medical staff. And it's funny that you brought that up. I was immediately thinking of the 49ers when it comes to actually handling injuries and all that. But Cleveland is a good team, and like the Buffalo Bills, they also won their first playoff game since the mid-90s. This is a team that has a lot going on for them. This is a team that's definitely going to stay aggressive in free agency, in the draft. They're still going to act like they have the top 3 pick in the NFL draft, even though they don't have that anymore. But this is a good team, and they can be better by just doing some of the little details.
Yeah, and OBJ is a great player. There's no disrespect to him. But it's almost like when he's on the field, Baker feels like he has to throw the ball to him. So when he got hurt, it sucks that he got hurt. But when he did, he started to share the ball a lot more. The pressure, I feel like the pressure was off of him. Landry started to be a wide receiver 1. And you just saw Baker, he was just dealing. He was accurate. He was a different Baker than we've seen besides his rookie year.
Well, I'd argue in the second half of the season that Baker played the best football he's ever played in the NFL. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens, who I also happen to have drawn not the short stick, but the stick for this one. The Baltimore Ravens, who went 11-5, lost in the divisional to the Buffalo Bills. Both of these teams, Cleveland and Baltimore, losing in the divisional. Number one thing that they should do is get Lamar a true X receiver, a true number 1 receiver, a jump ball guy. Look, I understand the argument that some people have that why get him a receiver? Why spend money on a receiver if he's not going to utilize them? that kind of goes hand in hand with my number 3 point. I'm going to skip over to my number 3 point. Change up the offense just a little bit. Stay true to your power option run game that you have brilliantly perfected here with the Baltimore Ravens. But throughout the regular season against some lesser opponents that you know you're going to mollywop, implement some new passing concepts. Just get Lamar to throw the ball at like 30, 40 times a game against bad teams. So you know what to expect and to go up against later in the postseason when teams start to figure out your high powered offense. And my number 2 point, my number 3 point, I wish I interchanged them, but replace your edge rushers. They're losing Yannick Ngakoue. Matthew Judon's still here, but he was franchise tagged last year, so they have to work out a long-term extension with him. You have to get a new edge rusher up here. They're picking like 27th in the NFL draft, and Joseph Asai would fit perfectly, the edge rusher out of Texas. Go get Joseph Asai. That's all I want. He is the perfect fit here. So yeah, go out, get Kenny Galladay, Joseph Asai, and have Lamar throw the ball to Kenny Galladay, and you'll win a Super Bowl if you're Baltimore.
Yeah, I agree with your things, and I will say, even though you didn't like how 2 and 3 were kind of in opposite spots, I think you hit number 1 right on the right. Hit the nail on the coffin with number 1. They do need a solid X wide receiver, someone that can really just get the jump balls. They have some good receivers, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, who's their go-to guy on third down in the red zone. But if you get someone that can just win those jump balls, especially on the perimeter, it's going to make Lamar Jackson's job so much easier at the quarterback position. He no longer has to just rely on his legs and making sure that he can play monkey in the middle with the free safeties on 4 verticals. This is a guy who can really make some more throws. And I think if you get him the right weapons, especially in that X position, Lamar Jackson can really show his true potential.
Yeah. And I totally agree. Their offense it's very high powered. It scores a lot of points. I think they average like 200 plus rushing yards a game. But when postseason comes, it's like teams figure them out. They stop the run. They force Lamar to throw. It's like the same old. Force him to throw, and he just can't do it. But yeah, I really think it's because he doesn't get the reps. He might get them in practice, but practice isn't the same. He doesn't get the game reps. So when it's on the field and the defense does a cover 2 and they're running routes, it's like he's like, oh, this is new or something. Like he doesn't get those game reps that I really feel like that he needs to get.
Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens, arch rival for many years before the Browns and the Bengals were worth a you-know-what in this division.
And this is my team here, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who in 2020 had 12 wins and 4 losses. They did not look like a 12-win team. They were so one-dimensional. They had a talented defense, but offensively, it was simply, can Big Ben get his 300 yards? If yes, then they got a good chance of winning. If not, they're probably going to get blown out. My biggest priority for them is get the best running back available rather than free agency or in the draft. They're just hurting on the run offense, and if they don't find ways to balance out opponents' defenses, especially Baltimore's, Cincinnati's, Cleveland's, who's proven to be probably one of the better ones, up into the Steelers, it's going to be really easy to shut down Big Ben and his receivers. Number 2, you need to secure that left tackle position. You just lost Villanueva in free agency. You need to find a guy that can replace him. I don't know how aggressive they'll be in regards to attacking that offensive tackle market, especially in the left tackle position. But if they even plan on just keeping the offense that they have now, and that's just having Big Ben throw the ball 45 times, you need at least a good left tackle. Number 3, less dancing. Oh my goodness. I know it's not really a football strategy type of improvement, but there's just too many distractions that I see from the Steelers bench. And I don't know what Juju Smith's future is, if he's still staying with the Steelers, if he's going to move on free agency, or, I don't know what his plans are in the near future in the NFL, but Mike Tomlin can only handle so much of it. And I really think if you can just have a more solid locker room and have everybody on the roster on the same page, no matter what the playbook is, it just makes it so much easier to execute on the field.
Well, first off, let me say that I agree with you 100% about the Juju Smith-Schuster thing. I do not expect him to be back with the Steelers. I fully expect him to get a huge max contract. He might end up being the highest paid receiver in the NFL from the Dolphins or the Jets. Probably the most two likely outcomes for him because uh, they'll be able to pay him the most money, or Jacksonville maybe. Um, I am very surprised that you do not have quarterback as one of your priorities. I know they already announced that Big Ben is returning and he restructured a contract, but I have this statistic pulled up that I think you guys will find very interesting. From a clean pocket, which is one of the most stable and predictive metrics from quarterback play, Big Ben Roethlisberger ranked 33rd in the NFL out of 37 qualifying quarterbacks that played enough snaps to qualify last season. He is not even ranked as one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL. That is an unbelievable stat to me. I know that they already announced that Big Ben is coming back, but if you can make a move for Sam Darnold or Jameis Winston or some other sort of quarterback as a backup plan just in case, you have to do it because Big Ben, he's not old Big Ben. He's just not what he used to be.
Yeah, and I agree with your number one need. If you watched them play, it was like pulling teeth when they would run the ball. People were in the backfield all day long. I mean, that's kind of part of the line too, but it was like the running backs weren't hitting the holes. They weren't hitting them hard, like they were scared. It was like they were getting hit too much. I don't know. But they really need a, game changer back there. I mean, when they had Bell, they used him in the run game, in the pass game, and he like excelled. But with Connor, it's almost like they didn't really do that very much. I don't know if they didn't believe in him, if they didn't think he was as good, or if his injuries caught up. I don't know what it was, but it just seems like they didn't really use him like they should have.
Thank you so much for listening to the Stampede. Whatever platform you're listening on, do yourselves a favor, do us a favor. Please leave a review. All feedback is appreciated. And subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Stampede. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. For Ryan Jones, Ashton Yanez, Nick Romero, we'll see you guys next time.